Welcome to the deep dive. Tonight, all eyes are definitely on the San Siro. It's the second leg Champions League semifinal. Inter Milan versus Barcelona.
And what a tie it's been so far.
Right. If you missed that first game, well, it was a bit wild. 6 goals, ended in a draw. So this one, it's absolutely everything to play for.
Exactly. And, the stakes are incredibly high. You've got Barcelona. They're really pushing, striving to get back to a Champions League final for the first time in, what, a decade?
A whole decade. Yeah, that's huge for them.
It really is. And then there's Inter. They were in the final pretty recently, and now they're looking for their second final in just 3 years. Hungry to show they're consistently at that top table.
So, yeah, 2 massive clubs with different but equally intense pressures. And to help us and you get a clear picture before kickoff, we've been looking at a detailed report from The Independent.
Yeah, it's a good snapshot. Gives us the key info, like kickoff times where you can watch it, and crucially, the latest team news whispers.
Perfect. So let's get into it. What are the absolute must-know details?
Okay, so the match is tonight. That's Tuesday, May 6th. Kickoff is 8 p.m. British summertime.
And it's at the San Siro in Milan. Iconic stadium.
Definitely. Proper European cauldron feel to it.
And if you're in the UK, how can you watch?
Amazon Prime Video has it covered. Their broadcast starts at 7 p.m. BST, so you get a good hour of build-up.
Good stuff. Okay, now that first leg, we mentioned the goals, but maybe just recap the flow of it quickly. It sets the scene, doesn't it?
It really does. The report mentions Inter came out, well, firing, really. Goals from Thuram and Dumfries put them ahead quite early.
Looked like they might run away with it at one point.
Possibly, yeah. But then Barcelona, they showed real character, sparked by young Lamine Yamal again.
He's something else.
Isn't he? They managed to fight their way back and level the score. So that 3-3 draw leaves it perfectly, almost nervously balanced for tonight.
Which brings us to Barcelona's approach. Hansi Flick. The report points to his tactical style being quite high risk.
Yeah, high risk, high reward seems to be the theme. It feels like it's tied into this bigger ambition for Barca, Not just reaching the final, but really stamping their authority back on European football after that long absence from the very top tier.
It's a big statement they're trying to make. That decade away from the final must feel like an eternity for a club like Barcelona.
Adds pressure, right?
Oh, absolutely huge pressure. And that's kind of the contrast with Inter, isn't it?
How so?
Well, the report frames Inter as incredibly tough opposition, especially at the San Siro. They've got that home advantage, the crowd.
And that recent final experience.
Exactly. They were there not long ago. They know what these massive semi-final second legs feel like, how to manage them. That counts for a lot mentally.
That experience could be key. Right. Let's talk team news then. This is often where these big games can swing. Any major worries for Inter?
Yeah, the report flags a couple big ones for Inter. The main concern seems to be Lautaro Martinez.
Captain, their main goal threat. Precisely. He picked up a hamstring injury in that first leg, apparently. So his participation tonight is, well, it's up in the air. A huge potential loss.
Definitely. And anyone else.
Benjamin Pavard's involvement is also mentioned as uncertain. The report doesn't detail why, just that he might not feature. Losing Martinez, though, that would really force a rethink up front.
Yeah, if he's out, or even just not 100%, how do you see them adapting? Do they have the depth?
Well, they might have to rely more heavily on Thuram, who scored in the first leg, and perhaps Marko Arnautovic comes in. He's predicted to start in this report. Maybe a slight shift in focus, more through midfield, perhaps.
Interesting. Okay, what about Barcelona? Are they coming into this fully stocked?
Not quite, no. They've got their own issues, particularly at fullback, it seems. The report says they're likely missing both first-choice players there.
Both. Who are we talking about?
Alejandro Balde is still out injured, that's known. But Jules Koundé is also expected to miss this one. Losing both starting fullbacks, that's a headache.
Wow, yeah. That's a big problem defensively. And probably offensively, too, losing that width.
For sure. Modern fullbacks are vital, so Flick will have to shuffle his pack. The report suggests maybe Eric Garcia and Inigo Martinez could end up playing out wide in defense.
So potentially makeshift fullbacks?
Kind of, yeah. Alongside Araujo and maybe Cubarsi in the middle. It's definitely not their usual setup, and you can bet Inter will look to exploit that if it happens.
Right. So given all that, The Independent gave predicted lineups. Let's run through those quickly for Inter.
Okay, they predict Sommer in goal, then a back three of Bisek, Acerbi, and Bastoni.
Okay.
Midfield 5. Dumfries on the right, Barella, Calhanoglu, Mkhitaryan in the middle, DeMarco on the left.
Still looks strong.
Yeah. And then up front, reflecting that Martinez doubt, they predict Thuram alongside Arnautovic.
Right, so still a quality side, even potentially without their main man. Shows their depth.
It does. And for Barcelona,
The prediction is Szczesny in goal. Interesting, they predict him starting. Then that defense we discussed. Garcia, Araujo, Cubarsí, Martinez.
okay, the potentially altered backline.
Yeah. Then midfield, Olmo, De Jong, and Pedri. That's a classy trio.
Very technical, yeah.
And the front three, Yamal on the right, Ferran Torres through the middle, and Rafinha on the left.
Still loads of talent there, obviously. But, those potential changes at fullback, that could be the key area. Might affect their balance.
Definitely something to watch. Okay, one last thing. The report touches on the betting odds. Who are the bookies favoring to actually go through to the final?
Well, according to the odds they cited, it's actually Barcelona who are slight favorites to progress.
Oh, interesting. What were the odds?
Barca are listed at 8-11 to qualify, while Inter are at 65.
Okay, so 8-11 versus 65. For someone not totally familiar, what does that translate to, roughly?
It basically means the bookmakers think it's very close, but they give Barcelona a slightly better than even chance, maybe around 58% implied probability compared to Inter's chance, which is closer to 45%.
So a slight edge to Barca, despite being away and having those defensive issues.
Seems so. Could be down to perceived overall squad depth, maybe Flick's tactical nous, or just the sheer attacking talent they possess, but it's marginal.
Right, okay. So let's quickly wrap up the key takeaways from this deep dive into the Independence preview. Tonight, 8 p.m. UK time, San Siro. Inter versus Barca. Watch on Amazon Prime from 7.
Yep, follows that thrilling 3-3 first leg. Barca chasing a final after 10 years. Inter want their second in 3.
Team news is huge. Inter sweating on Lautaro Martinez. Barca likely missing both first-choice fullbacks.
And the odds give Barcelona a very slight edge to qualify over Inter.
So you should feel pretty well briefed now, heading into the match. It really does set up a fascinating contest, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And maybe here's something for you to chew on as you watch.
Yeah.
Considering how open and high-scoring that first leg was, and knowing about these potential defensive gaps on both sides,
Yeah.
do you think we're in for another goal fest tonight? Or will the pressure, the stakes maybe lead to a much tighter, more tactical affair decided by a single moment or mistake?
That's the big question, isn't it? Goals galore, or tactical chess. And thinking bigger picture, with Barca desperate to regain that elite status, and Inter aiming to cement theirs. What does this result, whichever way it goes, tell us about where the power really lies in European football right now?
Lots to think about. It should be a cracking watch.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Enjoy the game.